I don't think anyone really wakes up one day and decides to spy on their own spouse. It wasn't something I wanted to do, but something deep in my gut just wouldn't let me ignore it anymore. At first, it was just little things. My wife started coming home later than usual. She said it was work, traffic, errands, and maybe it was. But the way she said it, it felt practiced. Her phone, once always left charging on the kitchen counter, was now always in her back pocket. On silent, face down. I told myself I was being paranoid. We'd been married for 7 years. She was my best friend, the love of my life. We'd been through some tough patches, sure, but what couple hasn't? Still, something in me shifted the night she came home, hair slightly damp, no gym bag, and claimed she had just come from a yoga class. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay there next to her, watching her breathe, and wondering if I was losing my mind or losing my wife. The idea to install hidden cameras wasn't sudden. It crept in slowly. At first, I thought about checking her phone, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. I wanted proof, not guesses, not fights, just the truth. So after days of internal war, I did it. I installed 2 small, discreet cameras, one near the front door and one in the living room. I never told her. That part still messes with me. I didn't feel like a husband anymore. I felt like an investigator. For the first few days, there was nothing, just regular stuff. Her walking in, dropping her bag, making coffee. I felt sick with guilt. I thought maybe I'd let my imagination get the best of me. But on day 4, something happened. She came home around noon. That was strange on its own. She usually didn't take lunch breaks at home. A few minutes later, a man entered behind her. Tall, casually dressed, like he'd been there before. I remember freezing, just staring at the screen. My ears were ringing. I couldn't hear the video anymore, just my heart pounding like a war drum. They didn't do anything outrageous, not right away. He sat on the couch. She made coffee. They laughed. She touched his shoulder like it was the most normal thing in the world, like he belonged there. I stopped the video. I couldn't watch anymore. And here's the worst part. I didn't confront her. Not then. I didn't yell. I didn't ask questions. I didn't even cry. I just sat there, staring at the paused frame of my wife smiling at another man in our home. And I felt my entire world starting to come apart. After that first afternoon of camera footage, my world became a shadow of itself. I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus, couldn't eat. The house was the same, but everything inside me was different. That quiet, polite atmosphere, it felt like I was walking around my own grave. Some days she was gone for hours. I'd check the footage, hoping it was just me misreading things. But every lunch break, or sometimes mid-morning, there he'd be. A quiet visitor, not boisterous, not rude, not someone trying to claim territory. Just there. And every time she smiled at him, my heart shattered a little more. One day I paused on a frame. Her face lit up as he said something funny. I knew that smile. I'd been the one who made her laugh like that before, at least I thought I was. Suddenly, I was someone's choice, but not her first choice. Every memory we shared, every joke we'd told just the two of us, felt cheap in comparison to the way she trusted someone else with that same smile. I felt rage, but more than that, I felt helpless. Helpless that I did this to myself. I knew it was wrong. I knew I was betraying her privacy, but the need to know was louder than the guilt that clawed inside me. I kept watching for days, each video slice a fresh cut in a wound that wouldn't heal. I wondered, if he left, would she reach to hold me the same way? Or had that part of her heart moved on permanently? There were nights I stared at her sleeping face, wanting to gently wake her and ask why. But my throat would close up. The fear that everything I built could crumble in one word, or silence, kept me frozen. I had to pretend everything was okay. I smiled when she came home. I asked about her day, my tone polite, my mind screaming. I even joked about her using the car more, hoping she'd slip and mention something. But she kept walking circles around me, saying nothing that would give me anything. I was angry at her, but more than that, I was angry at myself. I'd let suspicion rule my heart. I let fear hollow me out. And worse, I was sorry that I couldn't be the husband who trusted, who believed in the love we once had. I began to replay our marriage in slow motion. When did she stop talking to me about minor things? When did dinner stop being a shared space and become just food we both ate, together but apart? That kind of emotional distance is more painful than any betrayal. It's losing the person you trusted, not because of what they did, but because of what they lost inside themselves while hiding it. And every time I watched another video, I felt a piece of myself disappear, but I couldn't stop. The worst part about betrayal isn't the act itself, it's what it does to your mind afterward. After days of watching my wife let another man into our home, into her space, into what I thought was our life, I found myself lost in silence. Not the quiet kind, the kind that eats at you. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I sat in the stillness and started breaking down in ways I never expected. One night, sitting alone on the couch with the footage paused in front of me, I had a thought I never imagined I'd think. Was I the one who disappeared first? That question hit hard, because in all this pain, all this watching and waiting, I started to realize just how long it had been since we were truly present with each other. I wasn't perfect. I worked late, forgot anniversaries, zoned out during conversations. I started to wonder how many times she had looked at me and seen someone else already gone. Now let me be clear, I'm not excusing what she did. Cheating is never the answer. Hiding it, doing it repeatedly, especially in our home, that breaks something deep. But what I started to understand was how distance doesn't start with betrayal. It starts with disconnection. And if you don't deal with that disconnection, betrayal becomes possible. I began reflecting on everything, how we stopped having real talks, how we both became busy with life and left no space for us. I remembered how uncomfortable silence had become and how we avoided it by staring at screens instead of into each other's eyes. There's a difference between living with someone and being with someone. I had been living with my wife, but somewhere we stopped being with each other. That realization broke me in a different way, because it wasn't just sadness anymore. It was understanding. Painful, bitter understanding. I learned that you can't fix a relationship by avoiding conflict. That silence doesn't mean safety. It just hides the cracks until the whole foundation collapses. I also learned that love without effort fades, that love without communication dies, and that love, no matter how strong, can't survive secrets. People think cheating is the moment someone crosses a line. But in truth, cheating often begins with the moments we stop choosing each other. Now, I'm not saying installing cameras was right. I'm not saying I handled this like a saint. I acted from fear, not trust. But if there's one thing I can give someone else who's sitting there, doubting their instincts, it's this. Don't ignore what you feel. Don't silence your voice just to keep the peace. And never let fear stop you from having hard conversations. Because the truth might hurt. But the slow burn of doubt? It's worse. Way worse. I didn't talk to anyone about it. Not my best friend, not my brother, not even a therapist. I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. And deep down, I still hoped maybe I was wrong. Maybe the guy was just a friend. Maybe it wasn't what it looked like. But hope is heavy when it's built on denial. I kept pretending. Every morning I'd hand her a cup of coffee. Smile. Say good morning. She'd kiss my cheek like nothing was wrong. And maybe, for her, nothing was. But for me, I was crumbling a little more each day. You ever sit across from someone you love and feel like a complete stranger? I did. For weeks. I noticed things more sharply now. The way she laughed louder when she texted. The way she avoided long hugs. The way her eyes flickered to her phone even during dinner. All of it chipped away at me, slowly, until I barely recognized the version of myself I was becoming. I used to be warm, goofy, easygoing. Now I was cold, quiet, and emotionally exhausted. The weight of pretending to be okay while watching the woman I married choose someone else, over and over again, was brutal. And the worst part? I still loved her. I'd find myself holding on to old pictures, smiling at videos of us dancing in the kitchen, laughing during road trips, singing off-key to songs we used to play on loop. I clung to those memories like they could save us. But they couldn't. Love doesn't survive in the past. It has to live in the present, and ours was gone. Still, I waited. I wanted her to stop on her own. I thought maybe, just maybe, she'd come clean. That guilt would finally show up, that I mattered enough to her to make her walk away from him. But she never did, and that's what hit me the hardest. It wasn't just the cheating. It was knowing I wasn't even worth an apology, not worth honesty, not worth the truth. I know a lot of people out there have felt this exact pain. You stay in something broken because leaving feels worse. You convince yourself that loyalty means holding on even when it hurts. You tell yourself that maybe you're overthinking, maybe it'll pass. But pain like this, it doesn't pass. It piles up, and one day it'll bury you if you're not careful. So yeah, if you've ever stayed quiet, hoping to be wrong, I get it. I've been there, and I know how badly that silence eats at you. I know how it makes you question your worth, but let me say this clearly. You're not crazy. You're not too sensitive. You're not weak for wanting loyalty. You're just someone who believed in love, maybe longer than the other person did. I couldn't keep pretending anymore. The silence between us had turned into a scream I could feel in my chest. I was losing sleep, losing weight, losing myself, all while she walked through the house like everything was fine. One night, I sat at the edge of the bed. She was scrolling on her phone, smiling at something, completely unaware that my world had already ended weeks ago, and I just said it. I know. She looked up, confused. Know what? I swallowed hard. I know about him. The guy who comes over when I'm at work. She froze. I could see her mind racing, trying to figure out if this was a trick, if I was bluffing. But I wasn't. I told her about the cameras, about the footage, about how I watched it all. The laughing, the touches, the little details that used to be ours. She didn't deny it. She didn't cry. She just looked down at her lap and said, "I didn't think you noticed me anymore." That sentence felt like a punch to the gut. Because yeah, maybe I got distracted. Maybe I wasn't as present as I should have been. But I never stopped loving her. I never brought anyone else into our space. I never betrayed her trust. In that moment, I realized something that hurt more than anything else. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry she got caught. I didn't yell. I didn't throw things. I just sat there, quietly heartbroken. We slept in the same bed that night, but it felt like 1,000 miles wide. The next day, I packed a small bag and left. Not forever. Just enough to breathe. To feel something again. To figure out who I was outside of the betrayal. And if you're still here, listening to all of this, I want you to hear this from someone who's lived it. Don't let anyone convince you that love means losing yourself. Don't stay quiet because you're afraid of the answer. And don't wait for someone to choose you when they've already chosen someone else behind your back. If you've ever been lied to, gaslit, made to feel like your gut was wrong, you're not alone. So many of us stay longer than we should. So many of us believe that if we just hold on a little tighter, things will go back to the way they were. But the truth? Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let go. If this story hit close to home, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you still loved? Have you ever caught someone you trusted doing something you never expected? Drop your story in the comments. Let's talk about it. Because healing starts when we stop staying silent.